My name is Maya, and I'm 28 years old. Every year, I attend Christmas dinner with my family, not because I want to, but because I feel obligated. I'm the youngest of four siblings, and despite building a career I'm proud of, I've always been seen as the baby, not married, no kids, just the quiet one they barely notice. This year, I had a feeling things would go the same way they always do. I walked into my parents' old Victorian house, the same one they've had for generations. It's beautiful, sure, but always cold, just like the people in it. My oldest brother Chris and his wife were already barking orders about table settings. My sister Amy was cooing over her baby, while her husband bragged about his new promotion. No one asked me how I was doing, no one ever does. My mother greeted me with her usual saccharine smile and an air kiss on the cheek. Maya, sweetie, so glad you could make it. Go ahead and grab a seat. There's a special spot for you at the kids' table. The kids' table, the one with plastic chairs, paper plates, and toddlers throwing mashed potatoes on the floor. I stood frozen. My heart sank. There, at the adult table, were my siblings and their spouses, seated around crystal glasses and candlelight. There was no place for me, not because there wasn't enough room, but because, in their eyes, I didn't belong. I wanted to speak up. I wanted to say, I'm not a child. I've built a life for myself. I deserve a seat at that table. But the words caught in my throat. Instead, I smiled and said, Sure, Mom, thanks. But as I sat on that wobbly plastic chair, the sound of children screaming in my ears and my plate already half covered in someone else's spilled juice, something inside me snapped. I quietly stood up, grabbed my coat, and walked straight to the door. Maya, my mom called, confused. I'm leaving, I said flatly. Enjoy your dinner? And I did. I left. I drove to a small diner an hour away and ate a hot meal in peace. No fake smiles, no judgment, just silence. And for once it felt like freedom. My phone buzzed all night, calls, texts, my mother, my siblings, even my dad. But I didn't answer, because this year I didn't choose the family table. I chose myself. I sat in that quiet diner for over an hour. The warmth from the coffee mug in my hands contrasted with the cold wind still lingering in my coat. For the first time in years, I felt a strange mix of peace and power. I wasn't at that big dining table where my voice didn't matter. I had left, and they had noticed. My phone buzzed nonstop. First it was Chris. Maya, this isn't funny. Where are you? Then Amy. Mom is freaking out. Just come back. Even my dad chimed in, Don't act like a child. Get back here. Typical. Not a single message asked if I was okay. No one said, We're sorry. They were just mad I'd walked away. Then came the message that stopped me cold. Amy. Of all of them, she was the one I'd once trusted most. The sister who stood up for me when we were kids. Her message was quieter than the rest. Maya, I understand why you're upset, but please come home. It's Christmas. Let's fix this. For a moment, my heart softened. But just for a moment. Because as much as I wanted to believe her, I remembered all the times she stood by silently when I was excluded. All the holidays I sat at the end of the table, laughed at, ignored, or dismissed. Maybe she meant well, but good intentions don't erase years of being treated like I didn't matter. I typed back, I'll think about it. It wasn't a promise. It was a boundary, a reminder that I'm not theirs to summon whenever it suits their image of a perfect family. The diner's neon lights flickered outside the window, casting shadows across my face. I looked at my reflection in the glass, tired, hurt, but standing taller than I had in a long time. I wasn't going back tonight. Maybe not ever. Because being family doesn't give you permission to belittle someone, and loving someone doesn't mean using guilt to keep them quiet. That night, I made a choice. I wasn't going to chase their approval anymore. If they wanted me back, they'd have to see me for who I am, not who they expect me to be. And until then, I'd keep sipping my coffee in peace. The diner was quiet, except for the faint clinking of cutlery and murmured conversations around me. My phone sat face down on the table, but I could still feel its constant buzzing against the surface. I knew what was waiting, texts from my family, dozens of them. They had gone from confusion to anger to panic. The messages poured in like a storm. Chris, You're being immature, just come back. Amy, this isn't about you. Don't ruin Christmas for everyone. Dad, you've embarrassed the whole family. We deserve an apology. And of course, Mom, this is selfish. Your siblings are upset. Stop making a scene. Not one of them asked, "Are you okay?" Not one said, "We were wrong." They just wanted me to fall back in line. I scrolled through the messages slowly, each one a reminder of how little they really understood me, or cared to. They had turned my pain into a punchline, my silence into an opportunity to blame me. This wasn't love, it was control, wrapped in family ties and topped with a holiday bow. I could have replied, could have written paragraph after paragraph explaining how I'd felt invisible for years, how tired I was of being the family scapegoat, the baby who wasn't allowed to grow up. But I didn't owe them that, not anymore. Instead, I opened my photo gallery. There it was, a family Christmas photo from years ago. Everyone smiling, everyone looking happy, except me. I remembered that day. I'd been shoved to the end of the photo, told to just smile even though I'd been crying earlier. I had been ignored the entire evening, yet told to be grateful I was included at all. I uploaded the photo to the family group chat. No caption at first. Then I typed, then I hit send. For the first time all night, the phone stopped buzzing. There were no immediate replies, just silence. And that silence? It was louder than any apology could have been. I leaned back in the booth, sipping my coffee slowly. I hadn't yelled, I hadn't cried. I had spoken my truth with a single image. Let them sit with it. Let them finally see me. Not the version of me they had created, but the one who had quietly endured for far too long. And now? Now I was done being quiet. The group chat exploded. No one had replied right away when I posted that old photo, but it didn't take long. Within 10 minutes, my phone was buzzing again, this time with more urgency. The tone had changed, but the message was the same. I was the problem. Chris wrote first. "Seriously, Maya. That's low." Then Dad chimed in. "You made your point. Now stop being dramatic." Even Mom, who had started out pleading, turned cold. "You're not the only one who's had it hard. Grow up." Their words came fast, and they came hard. Guilt dressed up as concern, condescension hidden behind emojis. Every message carried the same undercurrent. You hurt our image. You embarrassed us. You're ruining Christmas. Not one of them said, "We're sorry." Not one said, "We didn't realize how hurt you were." They still didn't get it. They were too busy defending themselves, too caught up in appearances to recognize the truth I'd laid bare. To them, this wasn't about years of emotional neglect. It was about a dinner disrupted, a holiday spoiled. I let the phone buzz. I didn't reply. I sat in that diner sipping lukewarm coffee, watching the snow fall outside. The world moved on, unaware of the chaos inside my phone. Then came a different notification. It was from Amy, the sister I had once looked up to, the only one who ever made an effort to understand me. Before she got married, had a baby, and seemed to forget who I was. Her message was quiet. No accusations, no guilt trips, just raw. "Maya," she wrote, "I know you're hurting. And I get it now. I saw your face in that photo you posted. I don't know how I missed it back then. I'm sorry I didn't speak up. I should have. If you ever want to talk, I'll listen. I promise this time I'll actually listen." My breath caught in my chest. For a moment I didn't know how to respond. I had braced myself for more anger, more blame, but not this. Not someone finally seeing me. I didn't text back right away. I needed time. But something in me shifted. A crack in the wall I'd built. They still didn't get it. Not Chris, not Dad, not Mom. But maybe, just maybe, Amy did, and maybe that was a start. The diner's quiet hum was the only thing grounding me. Outside, the snow painted the world in silence. Inside, my phone wouldn't stop. Message after message. They were all saying the same thing, just in different flavors. Chris, "You blew this out of proportion." Dad, "You embarrassed the whole family." Over what? A seat? Mom, "You ruined Christmas." Everyone's upset because of your behavior. Their words were like echoes in a cold, empty hallway. Familiar, Predictable. I'd heard versions of them before, every time I dared to speak up, every time I'd asked for just a little respect. But now, I wasn't replying. I wasn't explaining myself or begging to be heard. I was silent. And that silence was speaking volumes. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to fix what they broke. I wasn't rushing in to smooth things over. I wasn't taking responsibility for their refusal to treat me like an adult. And they didn't know what to do with that. Their texts got angrier, then more desperate, then guiltier. But still, no apologies, not until Amy. Amy, who used to braid my hair when we were kids. Amy, who once cried with me when I didn't get into my dream college. Amy, who had slowly drifted into the perfect life they all approved of. Her message was simple, no drama, just truth. I'm sorry, I should have said something at dinner. I saw the way they talked down to you. I saw how Mom dismissed you, and I stayed quiet. I think I've stayed quiet for too long. You didn't deserve that. I don't know if this fixes anything, but I want you to know I see it now, and I'm sorry. I read it twice, 3 times, then I just stared at the screen. It wasn't a grand gesture. She didn't try to fix everything with one sentence. She didn't tell me to come back or move on. She didn't even ask me to forgive her. She just said she was sorry. And somehow, that mattered more than all the other noise. It wasn't about a seat at the table anymore. It was about finally being seen. And for the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone at the kids' table in life anymore. The phone screen glowed softly in the dim light of the diner. My untouched coffee had gone cold, but my thoughts were boiling. I opened the family group chat. Messages were still rolling in, angry, desperate, and predictably self-centered. Not one of them asked, "Are you okay?" Not one message acknowledged what they did. That silence, it screamed louder than any insult. I took a deep breath, cracked my knuckles, and started typing. Not in anger, but with clarity. This isn't just about being told to sit at the kids' table. It's about years of being treated like I don't matter. My thumbs moved with certainty. I wasn't writing to start a fight. I was writing to tell the truth, my truth. Every holiday, every birthday, every time I showed up, it was like I had to shrink myself just to fit into your version of family. Because I'm the youngest, because I'm unmarried, because I didn't follow your script, I was never taken seriously. I paused, then typed more. I've built a good life. I have a career I'm proud of. I pay my own bills. I take care of myself. But none of that has ever mattered to any of you. You only saw me as the odd one out, the girl who couldn't keep up, the afterthought. As I kept typing, my hands didn't shake, not this time. When you asked me to sit at the kids' table, you weren't just giving me a seat. You were giving me a message. You're still beneath us. I let that line sit there for a second, then hit send, silence. Then came the dots, typing, then disappearing, and again and again. No one quite knew how to respond, until Chris finally broke the silence. "You're being dramatic." Of course, I expected that. I replied, "No, I'm being honest, and if honesty makes you uncomfortable, maybe it's time you look at how you've treated me, not just tonight, but always." Then I added one final line. "I'm not asking to be included anymore. I'm demanding to be respected. There's a difference." I hit send. Leaning back in the booth, I finally took a sip of my cold coffee. For once, I wasn't waiting for permission to speak. I wasn't asking for approval. I was reclaiming my voice, and it felt better than any Christmas dinner ever could. I sat alone in the quiet diner, the hum of the heater blending with the faint jazz playing overhead. My phone buzzed again, another message from Chris. "You're ruining Christmas, Maya." I didn't even blink. A few hours had passed since I walked out of that perfectly decorated family dinner, leaving behind the candles, the cold stares, and the paper plate they reserved for me at the kids' table. Since then, my phone hadn't stopped vibrating. My father wrote, "Stop being childish and come back." My mom's texts shifted between sweet and manipulative. "We love you. You're overreacting. You're tearing the family apart." And Amy, my sister who once used to defend me, typed, "I get why you're upset, but this isn't how adults solve things." That one almost made me laugh. Solve things? I'd spent years trying to solve things by staying quiet, by swallowing my frustration, by pretending I didn't notice the jabs, the dismissiveness, the way I was always the afterthought at every family event. No one wanted to talk then. No one wanted to solve anything until I finally refused to play along. Now they were panicking. Now I was the problem. I didn't answer them. Not because I didn't have the words, but because I knew they weren't ready to hear the truth. They weren't upset because I left. They were upset because I broke the script. For the first time, I chose myself, and that scared them more than anything. I leaned back, letting my coffee grow cold again. A notification popped up, this time from Amy. "Please just come home, we'll talk, we'll make it better." I stared at it, and for a brief second my heart softened. I missed her. I missed how we used to be. But then I remembered how she sat in silence earlier, watched it all happen, and said nothing. Silence is a choice too. I didn't reply, because this time I wasn't looking for an apology wrapped in guilt. I wanted change, and until they understood that, there was nothing more to say. I slid my phone face down on the table. Outside, the snow was falling again, dusting the pavement like a fresh start. Maybe Christmas would look different this year. But for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. And for me, that was enough. When the phone rang again and I saw Mom flashing across the screen, I hesitated. Part of me wanted to decline, to send her to voicemail like I had with everyone else all night. But something inside me, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, told me to pick up. I tapped the green button and held the phone to my ear. "Maya," my mom said. Her voice was soft, tired. "We need to talk. This has gone on long enough." I didn't answer right away. I wanted her to speak first. I wanted to hear if, for once, she actually heard me. She continued, her tone trying to be gentle, but still laced with that old authority. "We're family. You're making this more complicated than it needs to be. Your dad's upset. Chris is upset. Amy—" She paused. "I'm upset too." I took a breath, steadying myself. "I'm not making this complicated, Mom," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I'm just not pretending anymore." There was a beat of silence on the line. "I'm not going to sit at the kids' table like a prop. I'm not going to smile and let you all treat me like I don't matter, just to keep the peace." "I didn't realize you felt this way," she whispered. "That's the problem," I replied. "You never asked. You never looked." She sighed. "Maya, I'm sorry." It was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, like she was trying to process something too uncomfortable to face. "I just want us to be a family again," she said finally. "I just want you to be happy." I closed my eyes. "I want that too," I told her, "but I can't be happy if I have to shrink myself just to fit into your version of family." She didn't argue. She didn't deflect. For once, she didn't tell me I was being dramatic. She just said, "I understand." And in that moment, something shifted. I wasn't forgiven. I wasn't going back. But for the first time, she heard me. I told her I'd think about it, coming back, talking, figuring out what comes next. But this time, it would be on my terms. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not fear, just clarity. It wasn't about being right. It was about being seen, and that made all the difference. It's never too late to stand up for yourself. Family is supposed to be a safe place, a space where we feel seen, loved, and respected. But for many, including older adults, the reality can be far more complicated. Over the years, we may find ourselves repeatedly overlooked, undervalued, or taken for granted, all in the name of keeping the peace. Maya's story reminds us that silence isn't always kindness, and sometimes the bravest thing we can do is walk away from a table that no longer has room for us. Maya was the youngest sibling, treated like a child even at the age of 28. Despite her professional accomplishments and independent life, her family continued to see her as the baby, someone to be pushed aside, not taken seriously. The final blow came during Christmas dinner when she was told to sit at the kids' table. That moment, simple as it might seem, was a symbol of something much deeper, a lifetime of dismissal, of being treated as less than. We've all been there at some point. Maybe it was a holiday gathering where your opinions were brushed off. Maybe it was a birthday that went forgotten, or years of sacrifice that went unacknowledged. And for many older adults, that pain is even more pronounced. Years of quietly giving, only to realize you were rarely given the same respect in return. Maya didn't scream or argue. She simply walked out, leaving behind the dinner and the role her family had assigned to her. In that quiet act, she reclaimed her dignity. It wasn't about being dramatic or burning bridges. It was about saying, I matter. My voice matters. Let Maya's story be a reminder. You are never too old to set boundaries, to say no, or to demand to be treated with the respect you've earned. Family should never be a place where love comes with conditions or respect is only given to those who fit a mold. If you've ever felt like Maya, dismissed, unseen, or undervalued, know that you are not alone. You have the right to speak up. You have the right to walk away, and most importantly, you have the right to be seen, not for what others want you to be, but for who you truly are. If this story resonated with you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We bring you heartfelt, thought-provoking stories every week, stories that honor your experiences, your voice, and your strength. Because sometimes, the quietest decisions lead to the loudest truths.